everyone, and welcome to the NMPhil Wednesday Night Live. We have a very special guest tonight. She's a French citizen, Elodie Bouny, a guitarist and a composer. I had the great pleasure of working with Elodie on many occasions and having even commissioned a few pieces from her. Elodie was born in Caracas, Venezuela, but she grew up in France, graduated from the Paris Conservatory, later studied at Strasbourg Conservatory, and got her master's and doctoral degree in guitar and composition. She is now living in Lisbon with her whole family in Portugal, but we have the great chance to have her in our show tonight. We will start our show by listening to Elodie perform one of her own works entitled Que lo diga la luna, Let the Moon Say It, for solo guitar. Let's watch that. my guest for tonight's show, composer and guitarist, Elodie Bouny. Good evening, Elodie.
Good evening, Maestro. How are you?
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
It's great to see you, and what a lovely piece we just heard. Tell us a little bit about this song that we just heard, Que lo diga la luna.
Yes. Well, that's for solo guitar, as you can see. It's a contrasting piece with some mixed elements, as always. I think in my influence, musical influence, I think some of my part of my composition reflect quite well this kind of very mixed and various influence I can have in music, because I think I love so much different kind of music, you know, like I love world music, South American music, African music. I am fascinated with this kind of polyrhythmic texture, and jazz music, like improvisation. So I think we compose as we are, you know.
And of course, that reflects exactly, I mean, what you are, because you are a French citizen, but you were born in Caracas, in Venezuela. You grew up in France. Your mom is Venezuelan, your father is French. And then you moved to Brazil, of course, and you had the Brazilian influence. And now you're living in Lisbon, in Portugal.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. In fact, my mom is Bolivian, and this part of Andean music, it's quite present in my poetic imaginary, you know. So
of course.
And now being here in Lisbon, I can see that how, for example, fado music, it's fantastic music, and I can see even more. I am composing, and sometimes I can see a little light of fado, you know. That's very funny, very interesting. I perhaps I have to be aware and conscious to don't be incoherent. I don't know. Incoherent, yeah. And try to. It's always the difficulty for a composer and young composer, you know, like who I am, and when you are fond of so many kind of music, and you have this mix-up of influence, after you have to find your way. And I am always on this kind of quest, you know, who I can't lost myself, but I can't ignore all this. Yeah, so that's very, very interesting. So yeah.
Now you play the guitar, and that's such a great instrument. You know, I think they're the two great instruments for composers, or for anybody really, are guitar and the piano, because you can be independent somehow. You know, other instruments, you need someone to play with, right? You cannot be self-sufficient. But with the guitar, you can play the harmony and you can play the melody. You're complete in that sense. And do you how much the guitar influences in your composing? Because, like, you know, Beethoven and Schumann, the piano really influence even their orchestral writing, because you can see that the structure coming from the keyboard. And do you find that the guitar influences a lot in your other compositions?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, totally. I have one more time. I have to be to be careful with that too, because of course I love to compose with my instrument, but it's a very rich instrument, but it's there is some limits, much more than piano. So I have to be aware about this limitation, and sometimes I begin almost always on the instrument, but in kind of stage of the composition, I have to let the guitar, and okay, is not guitar, it's well, orchestra, and so because the instrument close a lot, yeah, it's normal, any kind of and piano too. I mean, I think it's not an orchestra, so there is a but yes, the beginning, it always with the guitar and the ways, yeah, the foundation. But after, no, okay, ciao, and try to hear without it, yeah.
And now we're going to watch this beautiful piece by Elodie Bouny. It's a guitar quartet, and the title is Déjà Vu. So Elodie, besides your classical training, you are very much involved with the popular music world. And in the pop world, of course, all the songs have titles and there is always a story behind the music, right? About this quartet, Déjà Vu, tell us about the story and how did you come up with this title?
Yeah, title is something very mysterious. I'm not very good with titles. I changed my mind during 1 week like now. But yeah, this one is it's funny. It's like a joke because in different ways. First, because it's musical allusion, like with this little kind of theme that are always on the air, you know. But okay, we already heard that. We already have heard that. Okay, like in music, normal, yeah. And after Déjà Vu is this phenomenon. You have the sensation. You have already been in this place, and I think it's incredible because I never had a déjà vu in my life. I don't know what is the sensation, and my husband have this magic sensation. Sometimes it's I just had a déjà vu. So for me, it's something like very strange and yeah, and it's to a kind of joke with the idea that when you compose something, you think that's a new music, you know, like now I sit down. It will have to be a new music and very special and all this pressure. You know, to compose and this blank page and so it's like.
And all of a sudden you realize that you probably heard that before somewhere, right?
Yeah, and sometimes you stole that, and but a little bit, every composer have this kind of
but you know,
I wish
let me tell you,
yeah.
This week I was conducting Schumann Fourth Symphony, right here in Sao Paulo, and you know, it's so interesting because I can say that Brahms and Richard Wagner took so much from Schumann symphonies. I mean, like Gustav Mahler took really literally note by note one phrase from his Third Symphony. But then Schumann himself also took from Beethoven in his symphony. So you see, in a composer, you know, he presents something that already someone composed, and then he is composing something that someone else is going to take from him. So it's very interesting, and there's no problem with that. It's completely normal with all the great composers.
I think so, because wanting to create something absolutely new, it's a little bit pedant, you know, like why you should do that. So no, it's normal. It's all influence, a lot of influence. It's normal, So,
but now, Elodie, the next piece we're going to show our public is really very unique. It's a piece that we commissioned. Teatro Municipal commissioned you, and it was a very specific commission because we wanted to talk about the violence against women, and which is a huge problem worldwide. So you chose this poetess from Brazil that talks about this subject, and you composed this song for soprano and orchestra. So tell us a little bit about Meia Lágrima, which is a very, very special work. I think is one of the most important works that I had the chance to conduct the premiere.
Wow, incredible to hear that from you. Thank you.
Really, yes.
Yeah, That was very powerful to do that because, yeah, we know this situation of feminicide in all the world, but in Brazil, it's quite, I think South American, it's quite heavy situation. And well, for me, it was an honor to be called to do that. And the process was, the poetry is very musical. You know, there is a lot of image, very musical. The sound of the words of the poetry, it's very charged musically, I think, yeah. In English, we can explain that, but when you understand, yeah, it's, and you hear in Portuguese, it's very strong. So that was already very inspiring for me to hear that and to try to translate this emotion. To try, because as I didn't never live this kind of situation, thanks God, but to try to have this emotion, to translate that. Yeah, I think in music it's always so important to be filled of the emotions, to do our best, yeah, to translate that. So, and technically, I mean, I choose to valorize the timbre, yeah, sound color, and it's not very big orchestra. I like to work that way when you have only your voice, yeah, in front of the orchestra. So the idea was that, but it's very tonal, and I tried to bring this powerful of this terrible emotion. Yeah, it was meia lágrima.
So we're going to listen and watch this video. This video, the audio is from a live recording of the premiere of Elodie's piece called Meia Lágrima for soprano and orchestra. This was recorded in Teatro Municipal in São Paulo, the São Paulo Symphony Orchestra. And the soloist is Marli Montone, soprano. So let's watch that now. Unfortunately, we don't have the translation from this beautiful poetry by Conceição Evaristo, but it's you can certainly look up on the internet this poem called Meia Lágrima, and you'll certainly find the translation. So here it is, Meia Lágrima by Elodie Bouny. That was a very powerful piece, Elodie, you know, and the video production has all the statistic of the numbers of women that are abused, even killed by their partners, and which is a terrible situation worldwide, but especially here in Brazil. And the situation was aggravated during the pandemic.
That's true. Yeah.
So it's a really powerful way to really reflect upon this problem, you know, with the music, and have people have this notion, you know, that this is something really horrible that happens in our society. So I think you capture that with the music in a very powerful way.
Thank you, Roberto.
Now, Elodie, going back to your guitar playing, of course, this is your passion, and you do so many things because you're also a teacher at the university in Brazil. Now you took a sabbatical time, and you're spending time in Lisbon, and actually you moved to Lisbon, right? But between teaching, playing the guitar, composing, what do you love to do the most? Or everything is important to you equally?
Yeah, it's interesting that now I am here in Lisbon. I quit Brazil, physically. Now I am very interested in listening Brazilian music, and especially Brazilian songs. And now I am beginning to compose some songs. You know, I have the work with some comments on. I have to compose for, but when I have a little time, I am trying to do songs. That's so different way to compose and to think the way to do that. That's it's very. I am very happy to be in this other way of composing. Yeah. So when I have time, I do music. Okay.
And of course, you've been researching a lot about the voice, so much so that you know, after the success of Meia Lágrima, we commissioned an opera from you, which is Homens de Papel, and that's a huge project. We're going to premiere this in 2022. That's what we're hoping for. But to compose a full opera, it's almost 1 hour long. How was that process of composing for so many different forces, for a symphony orchestra with so many different characters and chorus?
That I think in my life, composer life, it will have before and after this first opera, and I am very grateful for that. From you and from Hugo Pozzolo. So yeah, it was a big, how do you say that? When you enter in water, and now, you know, okay.
Deep waters.
Like, yeah, and it's very heavy thing. Homens de Papel, very sad story, very heavy. So one more time, I remember one day I was composing, and I began to cry because it was so heavy. Yeah, it was so heavy. This scene was so terrible, and that's normal. I think it's like that. I love that, to feel that.
So let me explain to our audience. This opera that we commissioned from Elodie, it's a very tragic story about the homeless life And it's a very realistic story because right surrounding the opera house in Sao Paulo, which is this beautiful, glamorous place, we have all these homeless people living. And so this story and the libretto are very heavy. It comes from Plinio Marcos. He's a very important writer in Brazil. And Elodie composed the opera based on this story, which is very, very tragic, very powerful also. And it's the first commission that we have done of an opera here in Teatro Municipal. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that to this production next year. Elodie.
Yeah, well, I am very anxious and very happy, all mixed of emotions. That was really very important for me, really. And I hope, yeah, next year we'll be together with all these wonderful people working on this.
So, Elodie, thank you so much for participating on our Wednesday Night Live of the New Mexico Philharmonic. We hope you can make it to New Mexico. Your husband, Yamandu Costa, is going to be performing with us in October. We're very much looking forward. I'm hoping that you can join him so you can have a chance to be with us.
This will be great.
And we have a great orchestra, really a wonderful audience. So we're looking forward to having a chance to meet you in Albuquerque. Thank you so much. Congratulations on your great work. Congratulations.
Thank you very much for the invitation and good evening. Thank you so much.
We're going to hear our last video now, which is Elodie playing solo guitar again on this beautiful piece called Duas Almas, Two Souls. And thank you so much for joining us tonight. We'll see you next week with another great show. Good night, everyone.
Good night.